What's up, everybody? It's Mark from 403 Fauna, along with
Jason Radass Designs.
this is the Fauna topic, where every week, except for last week, we talk about relevant topics about the ball python and reptile industry. This week, we'll be
hmm
talking about refocusing your ball python collection. I know I'm at the point where I'm stepping back and taking a look at things and wondering what I should get rid of and what should I add. I think you're currently going through that as well, but that will be our
A little
topic.
bit. Yeah.
So, weekly check in. How was your week with regards to ball python and life in general?
Yeah. I had fed all the snakes previous Friday and checked on them on Tuesday, and everybody was doing pretty good. And I decided on Tuesday to like swap some things around and put some males back in after they'd been separated and fed for a while. And I just checked on them a few days later, and they all seem pretty much cuddled up and hanging out and everything, except for I have this like highway female that I got
Uh,
this spring, and she's really pretty, and she just shed, and so she looks great. She hadn't been eaten lately because of the shedding cycle. I tried to get her to, but she didn't. She shed, she looked really good, and right now I'm not going to get any males, so I just thought, well, let me see what this like desert ghost guy can do. Let me just put him in there, and he's Spectre, so some interesting combinations will pop out, and that'll salvage something, and it'll be neat. And I went and looked in the tub, and they're like on opposite spots. They're like they want nothing to do with each other. It's very clear to me they were like staring each other down, and so I assume that he did not get lucky. And after the show, I will go and separate them. Actually, I did pull him out right then and put him back in his old tub. Um, yeah, yeah.
I call that
So
school dance.
yeah, I thought they would get along pretty good with her having just shed, and he looks really good, and he was hanging out with this other girl, and they don't seem to really, I don't know, not dislike each other, but weren't really cuddling at all. And I thought maybe he'd go along with her, but nope, So yeah. And then yeah, I opened up a drawer and just a little while ago, and I finally got the first eggs of the year.
Very nice.
So
Congratulations.
that was pretty cool. I've been waiting for those. I've been mentioning it. And I didn't write down when she shed last, but it took her a while from when she last shed to actually laying the eggs. I would say probably close to 40 days.
Yeah.
And she ate um like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago she ate. So I didn't think that she would, but she hadn't eaten in quite a while, and she ate. So that was interesting. It was after her shed, so sometimes they'll do that. I
Yeah.
didn't count the eggs. I just saw them right before coming in here. I grabbed a snake, came in here, and I'm guessing that there's five or six, and they're pretty good size, and she's wrapped up on them pretty good. So that was cool. And yeah, it's like officially summertime in California now. It was a long, prolonged winter. We didn't get a whole lot of a spring, and it feels like summer now. It's in the 90s in the desert, that's for sure. But good week in general.
Now, question about your eggs. Do you candle them? Do you set
hmm
them embryo up? How do you do your egg box?
Yeah, I mean, like when I found the ones from my bell that I showed last week, they were all clumped up together, and I kind of candled them in a group. So there was a couple eggs that I didn't really candle, but I pretty much got to see what I wanted to see from all of them. And even still, one egg still went bad from that. That was on the top. It was under a ceramic heat emitter, and she laid it right in her comfortable warm spot. And I don't know if it had to do with that or it was just random coincidence that it was the top egg that went bad. And 5 days later, it smelled really bad, and I took it out. Um, so these ones look like all laid out on a 70 tub. She had cleared the substrate pretty good, and they all seem to be mostly separated in a sense already, rather than in like a big stack. Probably because there's less of them, and I'll probably separate them all and then candle them all individually, and yeah, and then set them up in the incubator. Yeah.
Congratulations on that. I'm still waiting on my first clutch, and my girl is on day 34, but she's in the position where it looks like it's going to happen any day now. Probably might be even there when I get home today. But within the past couple of weeks, I think I had like 4 or 5 ovulations.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was on Adam's Proper Royals Cup of Joe show
I
this
saw
week,
that.
and we talked about it a little bit and how I don't keep a ambient temperature. And he was hypothesizing that since I don't do that, I have like a season going on, and how everything is just falling into season, and it totally made sense. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't realize that until he mentioned it. It's probably something I should have thought about, but I was so busy focused on why am I producing so many females, and it's probably because of the cold temperatures that I have in winter. But it was really exciting to get all those ovulations because it seemed to be going late. But if I probably look back to last year, it's all happening at the same time. Only one time did I get an early clutch, and that was in 2021, or actually 2022. And everything pretty much falls within ovulation now, and then having eggs throughout July, August, September, some going into October.
Yeah.
Quest, I thought you're going to drop in here. You're supposed to be our little mini guest today. So click that link and head on into the back room here because you're up next, man.
Yeah, so when I was pulling some tubs just now, or not just now, like on Tuesday when I was here, I was noticing that lots of females were like laying kind of funny, like laying on their sides, doing all that kind of stuff that you
That's
see
a
and
really
you
good
hear
sign.
people, yeah, you hear people talk about. And some of them seem to be like snakes that I didn't really especially think like are actually taking. It's almost like lots of snakes just were feeling the vibe in the air and the warmth and just were like moving and repositioning themselves and stretching and doing some things that I don't typically catch them doing. So I had a pretty good feeling that when I showed up today, that there was going to be some eggs and some other um, indications that other eggs are coming soon. So yeah, pretty cool. I look forward to hatching my first clown. So het to het pairing, and there's all sorts of other genes in the mix, like pinstripe and vanilla and yellow belly and pastel and all sorts of stuff. It's gonna be cool.
Really exciting. I got
Yeah.
one shot at clowns this year. It's from hypo clown to a pastel spot nose het clown. So I'm hoping to hit without the pastel a spot nose clown, either male or female, or hopefully both. But that's my one shot at clowns this year because my clown boys really didn't get the job done. But hopefully next year I'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened for me this week was I got some results in from RGI, and you know if you get a chance to throw double hets to double hets that aren't even related to each other, try it because you might end up with triple or quadruple hets. What I did was in 2021, I paired a leopard double het VPI Xanthic puzzle with a vanilla cream het hypo. So just throwing a shot out there at some triple hets. And I knew that genetic tests were coming, and I was hoping to hit on that, and I got some results in from RGI. So I've been for the past couple of years been sitting on a triple het female VPI xanthic puzzle hypo and another double het puzzle hypo. So it's crazy that I've been sitting on these and I've just been slow growing them. I haven't really been paying much attention to them. But now that I got those results, and I'm going to start pounding them with rats and get them
That's
ready for
awesome.
2025. And hopefully, I'm already on the search for a nice male to go with them. And I've been contacted by Randy from Dark Cloud, so maybe we could work something out with him. But yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's what we were talking about a little bit in the last show was just how that opens up like much more complicated, difficult, um, like recessive genetics that from like quad hets, triple hets, and things that are a long shot, and usually you would just move on from or have to raise and then just see. And then even when you breed like quad hets to quad hets, you're going to get a whole bunch of different cool stuff, but you don't know always for sure from what you hatch, like what really is going on. It takes many breeding seasons usually to figure it out from deduction. So for us to like know now is really like it's really an affordable way to efficiently, make nicer pairings in the future without all the raising up of animals and wasted years. Pretty cool. That's a pretty cool girl that you're sitting on.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, our guest is here, and our guest of the week is Quest the Rebel,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been a supporter of the channel and got one of our questions right. And what I'm planning to do going forward is anybody who answers our problem of the week, I'll give you a chance, whether you want it or not, to be a quick guest on our show, just to show your face, let us know who you are, tell us about your projects. And Quest was one of those. So he's going to be joining us now. Let's all welcome Quest to the stage here.
How's
What's
it
up?
going, everybody? How you guys
What's
doing?
going on?
Not much, man. Just hanging out.
Cool.
You guys hear me loud and clear? Everything good?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah, sound fine.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I am Quest the Rebel, or my name is Quinn. But yeah, I go by Quest the Rebel because I'm a music artist.
Mhm.
And I just happened to get into reptiles. So yeah, but the reptile company's name will be Rebels Reptiles. I put it here so you guys can see it. Yeah.
I've seen your Instagram, and so I've seen your face, but it's really good to have some new blood come on here. And I want this show to be more focused on having the new people on here. Tell us about some of the snakes that you have.
Yeah, so right now I have ball pythons. I have 2 males and 2 females, and I'm just gonna be going from there. Super small, you know what I mean. Also have 2 crested geckos that I'll be working with as well. You know what I mean. But I have my male, my big guy. This is my guy. He's just a clown het lavender, but I'm shooting for grells so much, so that's what I'm waiting for. And then I'm gonna get a female for him. But I have a orange dream pastel het clown female for him, and I have a banana. She's just a regular banana, but she'll be ready to breed next year, I believe. And I have a desert ghost. No, not desert ghost. I have a spot nose fire het desert ghost male that I actually got in a giveaway from Doug at His Fits. Hissy Fits? His Fits or Hissy Fits Reptiles. One of them. Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
Cool.
that's my little lineup right there. That's what I'll be getting started with. But yeah.
You know what? It's super important to have a powerful male, and having that male, especially with genetic testing now,
Yeah.
you could do a lot with it. Jason, you have any questions for our guest?
Yeah, so just the crested geckos and ball pythons. That's what got you into it.
Well, it was actually the ball pythons. We got our first girl. We were living in a space where I just couldn't have a big dog anymore. So we had to rehome our dog. I'm really into like pit bulls and Rottweilers, big
Yeah.
mean dogs. But yeah, I grew up my whole life with dog. Yeah, quotes. Grew up my whole life with dogs. I'm from New York, where a lot of people don't have reptiles. Well, now I see a lot of people are getting into it, but in Harlem in like the 90s, nobody was messing with reptiles. So we moved out to Florida, and they got anoles everywhere here, and I started hanging out with them. We put them on our ears and stuff like that here in Florida. So I just got into reptiles, and I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I don't know. We can't do the dogs, but I need a pet. I have ADHD, anxiety, and depression. So like I need a emotional support pet. And I never thought about getting a reptile, to be honest with you, because I didn't know how to work with them. I've always been, just dogs. But I watch all of you guys all the time. Triple B. I got my Triple B shirt on.
Yeah, yeah, I
Shout
see
out to
that.
Brian Cusco. I love Brian Cusco, man.
Yeah, he's
Rest in
awesome.
peace. Rest in peace, Brian Barczyk. I watch everybody. I love the reptile community. So when I got my first reptile, my banana, I was just like, this is something that I'm very passionate about. She calmed me right down. Like something about reptiles that it's like different from like dogs who are like always up your butt. Sorry to say it. I love dogs.
Yeah.
I love cats. I love all animals. But dogs, they always right up your butt. Your snake doesn't want anything to do with you. And like when they're just there chilling with you and you're in a whole nother world, you forget the snake's even there. Like they're just relaxed as you are. So like that's one thing that made me passionate about them. And the crested geckos, I got my first one, and he's just as awesome as the snakes. You know what I mean? Like I started hanging out with him, and taming him down has been a great thing. Now we just have this bond where like I come to his thing to put food in, and he's like, "Nah, let me climb on your hand, bro. I don't want the food. Let's hang out for a second." So yeah, reptiles.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun taming them down over time. Like a lot of them are very flighty and jumpy
Yes.
for a while, and then it just goes to show, just like with training a dog, to sit and lay down and like listen to you, that they'll learn over time. People will
Yes.
say reptiles aren't that intelligent and their brain's really small and they don't really like you and things like that. But
Pish posh.
sometimes you can get creatures trained pretty well, and they recognize you over somebody else. And people debate that a little bit. And all those people that you shouted out, they would also tell you that like Florida has been a big hub for reptiles
Mhm.
for decades and decades and decades, since the 90s. And they started having big shows, and you could pretty much get anything in Florida. I don't
Yeah.
mean just so much from the Everglades. They don't, not everything that escapes
Yeah.
survives out there, but there is lots of stuff. And I mean, like back in the day, you basically could order at the back of a magazine, getting a phone number, or different distributors would point you in the right direction, and you could get a black mamba, a green mamba, things you're not
Something
supposed
crazy.
to have.
Yeah.
Like everything went through Florida, not just cocaine. And like it's still to this day like kind of a mecca for like
Yeah.
reptile keeping in the country. And some people say the Daytona show's not as good as it was way back in the years, but everybody sure would like to go there and
Yeah.
party and hang out, and then the nostalgia. And there's still a lot of big breeders out there, and a lot of stuff that you can still acquire
Yeah.
over there.
The goal
Yeah.
the Daytona show. That's one of my goals, bro. Like I know
Hmm.
everybody's there. So
Yeah.
I just think that's such an awesome thing. And this whole world was opened up to me through just saying, I need a pet that I can't have in this house right now. We need space for a pet. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get one. I went to go get a freaking retic. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I went to go get a retic, and this is what sent me down that spiral of researching and all of that. Went to go get a retic, and I was like, all right, let me see where I can get one in Florida. You can't get one in Florida. I was like, why not? So, then I started doing more research, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. But yeah, ended up getting a ball python. But I fell in love with reptiles through seeing when I think it was when Burmese were allowed out here. Either they were allowed or they weren't. One of the females I was messing with, her dad had a huge one in his garage, and he was like, "Yo, Quinn, you want to see this You want to see the snake eat, bro?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I've never seen a big ass snake eat. Yeah, let me see it." So he pulls out a bunny, frozen thawed bunny, and just like
Hmm.
feeds it to him. I was like, that's sick, dude. Like, I want that in my life one day. And then I seen an episode of was it Snake Bites TV? Something where Brian was talking about the cowrie ticks. And I was like, yo, that is a beautiful snake, like black and white with the. I got freckles myself, so I was like, freckles everywhere. Like, I love that. Like, that is awesome. And that's what really made me fall in love. Big ass Burmese and retics, but I can't even
Some
have.
people really like the big snakes. There's a whole
Yeah.
section of the hobby that fiercely defends them and their right to have big snakes. I've never really been a big snake like keeper, but
Yeah.
I've had friends that do it, and I always like to see like
Mhm.
bigger snakes at like shows or herp society meetings and classrooms and different things, and it's there's something like extra cool about when you see like a giant alligator that's been tamed down, or like a
Yep.
Burmese python that's like almost 300 pounds, like 15,
Yeah.
16, 17, 18 feet, and reliably like pretty puppy dog tame, and you're just like, wow, it's just stunning to see in person.
Yeah, we
um,
love taking our daughter to Gatorland. You know, she's
mhm,
had her interactions where she's fed the gators, the chicken, and everything.
mhm,
Like, we're trying to
yeah,
get her into our little lifestyle over here. So she's
yeah,
5 and she's like, "Daddy, I want a snake." So yeah, I think it's awesome, man. This community
yeah.
is awesome and everything. You guys are awesome. Thanks for
Oh,
always being, available to teach us things and stuff like that.
sure.
Thanks for joining us. It's really good to put a face to the brand.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
we're going to be talking a little bit about refocusing collections. I know you've just started yours and yours is still small. But if you were to give someone who's totally new to ball pythons any advice, what would you give them?
I'd say don't like listen to people when they tell you, oh, don't spend this money on a head when you can, spend all of your money on this visual and stuff. Do the heads. If that's all you can work with right now, like that's what I have right now, you know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna be working with. But I do have a visual who's hat for this, a visual who's hat for that. You know what I mean? Try to get your, get in where you fit in. That's what I'd say. Get in where you fit in and just be yourself, man. I've
Yeah,
made so many connections with just like just talking and being myself and being in everybody's comments and stuff. I'm pretty sure you find anybody's video, you'll find a Quest the Rebel comment. But interaction, man, that's what it is, man. Get out there and find people who are into the same hobby and can help you out, but don't listen to the doubters and the naysayers.
yeah, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of time in most of them, and some maybe not so much time in, but they have a lot of money in it,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of expensive reptiles, and there's an allure to stuff that's a little bit more rare or more difficult to obtain, and it starts to be a little bit skewed to like dollar signs come into the
Mm-hmm.
equation,
Yep.
whereas you know what, the best kept pets and usually the most long-lived reptiles are the ones that are, like you say, they're het for this or maybe they're not, but
Mm-hmm.
they're cherished by keepers, and they have them for decades and decades because it has nothing to do with like propagation and dollar signs. It's just
Yeah.
the love of the animal. So I couldn't agree more in that sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why, like, I'm still going for shooting for the Grail project, but we're starting where we can. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
hopefully, from just gonna take us years to get to the Holy Grail, but we'll do it. I promise we'll
Yeah.
have some pied grills
And
one day.
it'll be more rewarding that way too.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes,
know?
sir.
Again, thanks for joining us. We're going to move on with our program, and maybe
Yeah,
someday we'll have you on for a full interview.
for
Appreciate it.
sure. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, man. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Later, man. You guys too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. So, awesome guy, right?
Yeah, cool cat.
That's
He's easy going, he's just having fun with the hobby. He's having fun with music. He's having fun on the show, and that's what we love to see.
Yeah, everyone in the audience, be sure to check out Quest_the Rebel on Instagram. Be sure to add him too. Okay, now last time we were here, our problem of the week was won by Leviathan Snakes. I don't think they need an intro, but
Hmm.
shout out to them for winning our problem of the week last time. So anyone who wins a problem of the week is eligible for a giveaway, snake from myself and Jason, and also you get the shout out of the week and an opportunity to be here for a short segment, just like Quest was on right now. If just contact me if you're a winner. I know everybody doesn't necessarily want to be seen on video, but if you do and you're a winner, you'll get that opportunity. So big shout out to Leviathan Snakes. Anything you want to say about Stephen and Courtney?
Yeah, they're just fun and ambitious and business savvy and mostly I appreciate about them that they've shared a lot of what they've learned in the hobby, even just from like the beginner standpoint, and they just learned along the way, and they've made good friends and allies and spent money in the right direction and networked really really well. Some people are super good with social media and they just take to that techie stuff, and they'll make videos on, how to grow your collection and how to set up lighting for videos. And um, I just think they've been a wonderful addition to the hobby. They're a little bit in the spotlight because of all the effort that they put in, and they have good vibes and have been friendly with everybody, and they're tackling goals that they've set out in breeding reptiles, and that's fun to see the excitement from somebody, regardless of what kind of reptile or project it is, just to see that through year after year and then be so excited when it finally works out, and they got a lot of that going on too. So yeah, nothing but good things to say about them.
Me as well. They're probably out of the COVID breeders like us. I would say they are
Mhm.
at the very top of those that got into the industry during that time and have just run with it. And just their knowledge of branding has just risen them to the top. And they're even considered, I would think, amongst the top breeders, especially with the Sunset Project
Mhm.
and their foray into Patreon and stuff. So huge shout out to Leviathan Snakes. Okay, so our problem of the week is coming up. I can see we have 4 audience members. Quest, let's give other people a chance to answer this correctly if they can. Here is our problem of the week. Again, at stake here, giveaway snakes, shout out, opportunity to come onto the show. Question of the week. Now, I was a little selfish on this one. It's a question about me. And
Mhm.
I think if you watched this show and some of my videos, you might get a hint at what the answer is to this. But this gene or project is something I, 403 Fauna, is considering getting out of. And I kind of wanted to have a question that's relevant to our topic of this week, which is refocusing our collections.
Yeah.
So would it be A, puzzle, B, desert ghost clown, C, piebald, or D, monsoon? Now, it looks like we have a winner here already. Let me look through here.
Ding 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 ding.
Okay, so Adrian, Gene Chasers. I'm considering getting out of Pied, and it's crazy because this was the gene that brought me into ball pythons, and I know it's the gene that many people are brought into ball pythons with, and it's a gene that sells very easily too. So I'm struggling with this notion of should I continue with this gene that I would have no problem selling, makes beautiful snakes, or should I just put my energy elsewhere in genes that I'm really into? So I know you love pieds.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on piebald? Is that a big thing with
Just
you going forward?
just one of when I was in the hobby before, and one of the last shows that I went to, this really nice guy who had gotten mites in his collection from shows before. He was an old breeder. He was older and he was just really nice guy. And I'd seen him year after year at many different shows. And he, that's just part of what goes along with shows sometimes. with letting people handle stuff and so many different animals in one place. But he let me hold this female piebald. It was like a remembering back, this was so many years ago. Like it was a really well started female piebald, and it was really pretty and healthy. And at that time, it was $4,500. And that was not really like my collection was worth a lot more than that at that time, but it was just not a snake that I could acquire yet. But it was slowly starting to be more bred and dipping in price a little bit and becoming almost attainable. And it just it does it holds an allure for a lot of people still entering the hobby, and some of the people that have been in it for a while still. Some people just love pieds, and I do too. I finally got some. I have a few. I have one that she looks gravid, and she's a really good eater and a really pretty snake. And I I I think it'll be cool to hatch piebalds. And I think part of, what has lost a little bit of luster, I'm guessing for you, is that, the price has dipped so much in the last couple of years on them. And then you also had a clutch hatch that wasn't the healthiest. And that's going to happen to the best of breeders that, have plenty of clutches and know exactly what they're doing and really kind of get it down to a science. There's still sometimes gonna have things not work out smooth and not be healthy. It could be incubation, it could be the mixture of so many different genetics, it could just be luck of the draw, I mean, not every human that's born on this planet is born healthy, unfortunately. And that's just part of life, and survival of the fittest. And so that sometimes that'll dampen some of the excitement on certain projects. But yeah, I like pieds a lot, and I think there'll always be people that want to have one and raise one and keep it for a long time. And I don't think people getting out of it will stop that allure, and it'll just trickle down to other people that are in another tier of, like, what they can afford entering the hobby, and it'll all just spread around, and it's still those snakes will be appreciated by other people. So that's sort of how I feel about pieds. I mean, you look like when there's different species that start of reptiles that start to gain traction and appeal and popularity. A lot of times people say, well, there's not very many morphs with them, so I don't know, it's a little boring. And they'll always say, like, oh, it'd be great if there was like a calico or a piebald popped out, then that would really like invigorate the project and draw more attention. And that's because calicos and piebalds and other white splotchy leucistic or any type of snake like that, it's appealing to people. And every once in a while you'll see a mammal in the wild that's piebald or leucistic, and it's always like interesting. There's an alligator in the south of the country that was just born months back, and it's leucistic. Some people like to say leucistic, but that's pretty cool. An all white alligator that's not albino. So yeah, I like pieds.
Yeah, I don't think I'll completely get out of it, but it's probably something that I will be reducing in my collection.
Hmm.
Okay, so congratulations to Adrian. I will give you a shout out on next week's episode. If you would like to be a guest in the future, we do have a short guest next week already. But beyond that, let me know if you'd like to be a part of that.
They're
Now,
short. What are they, like 5 foot, 4'11"?
I don't know what to name that segment. Short guest, or we'll figure something out as we go forward.
Yeah, yeah. I saw Aaron Beastmorphs is in here today
Yeah.
again, so that's nice. I've seen that he's been posting on Instagram that he's got all sorts of pairings and ovulations and things in the works, and his breeding season is full swing in that sense.
That's the way to go, Aaron, with the triple and double, triple, quad hits with your pies. That'll be pretty awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
Jason, it's time for our rad ass snake of the week. Do you have one this week?
Is it? Sure, I do. I got lots of rad snakes. And this one I put in a bag right next to me, and she just kind of chilled. I don't think I've shown this snake before. I could be wrong. I may have shown it before, but I don't think so.
Okay, audience, let's try to guess what we got going on here. So we got some stripy, grayish colored snake. I was gonna say highway at first, but I don't know. Maybe some yellow belly complex thing going on. What do you guys think out there? I've seen, yeah, bell complex maybe. You got me on this one.
Yeah, there's multiple bell complex things going on. I don't think I've shown her before, but this was a snake that I got last year. Um, Natalie liked snakes that were a little bit purple, and right now she looks fairly gray, but in the right lighting, certain hues of like lavender and purple can kind of be discerned from the naked eye.
Okay, we got
She
some guests on GHI. Is there GHI in here?
No, I only have one snake with GHI in it, even though I love that gene. It's super cool and does really neat stuff. No, this snake um is purple passion.
Will got it. Good job, Will.
Yeah. Essentially the same thing as a mystic potion. Will's seen lots of these before, and they all vary a little bit. So when you cross like Phantom, that came out from Ralph Davis, and Mojave, which is one of my very favorite genes. It's very simple, it's very pretty. I like the blushing. They seem to be good eaters and long-lived snakes. The gene's very healthy. You'll get this snake instead of an all-white one. And some will be more gray, some will be more washed out, some will be striped, some will have broken pattern, some will have pattern on the sides, kind of almost looking more like a super mystic. And Mystic and Mojave will do the same thing. And so for the longest time, people would keep them separate and keep the names
Mhm.
separate. And genetically, through all this testing that we've talked about, they're proven to be compatible and essentially the same, just from different lines, just like lesser and butter.
Right.
Some lessers and some butters will look different from each other, and some will look exactly the same. And that's what we've learned about them. And I like them. It kind of in a way is like a more washed out, different colored GHI Mojave in a way, with they tend to be striped and um, a little bit unicolor. And I like GHI Mojaves. I'm surprised that I didn't get one or try harder to make one early on, but they're real simple and real pretty snakes. And yeah, I tried to pair her last year on and off through winter, and nothing has happened other than she is not really a very good eater. She's real picky, and I think all the pairing put her biological stuff into like thinking that maybe she was ready to breed but didn't. And so I think I'll just not pair her the rest of this year and just try to turn her into a really good eater. And she's just a really pretty snake.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Will. Will's hella heat. That guy's really knowledgeable about ball pythons and the morphs. But
Yeah.
he brought up a question here. Isn't Mystic Potion and Purple Passion the same thing? Is that where you were getting at?
Yeah, I mean, essentially genetically through the testing, they're the same. They're just different lines. Like lesser and butter have been proven the same, and certain other genes, even though you'll see some subtle differences in the lines, and keeping them separate. Same thing with some of these new exanthic, um, some of the light that's been shed on those genes, like the black exanthic will be a little darker, and TSK and whatnot. You'll see differences because they've been kept and bred to different stuff and kept separate for so many generations that that's just genetically put different stuff and brings out different things. And then when people selectively breed certain lines, it goes a certain direction. And then, you got these two different lines. They essentially do the same thing, but they've gone these slightly different paths. So there'll be little variables in there. And um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long people keep those separate by name. And one day, will it ever just morph into some new name, or one of the names kind of takes over? Um,
Very cool snake. Okay,
yeah.
so I saw something last week posted on Ball Python 101 story, and I thought it would be interesting subject to talk about just real quick. And little segment here called "Things That Make You Go Hmm," and I'm kind of
Hmm.
dating myself here with Arsenio Hall, but he posted about ultrasounds potentially being harmful to the baby snakes, and I thought that was a interesting thing because I never thought of it that way. But apparently, there was some studies that show that it can be harmful. I Google searched it real quick, and I saw articles that say it's completely harmless, and I saw others that said it can potentially harm the animals. I know Nixon Reptiles, he does ultrasounds, and this subject was also brought up on RCR's Patreon, his chat. And do you think there can be anything to that? Have you ever used an ultrasound?
No, I mean, just when my kids were developing in the hospital, I watched someone do it, and you hear the heartbeat, thump, 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 thump. You know, it's like, I wouldn't imagine that it's especially harmful if you do it a little bit here and there. Like, I'm drinking Coca-Cola, not a sponsor, but a little bit, no big deal. But it also like will melt pennies if you leave them in there. So like, everything in moderation. There's people that get X-rays to check for bone density, different things, and that's not especially harmful, but they put all the lead blankets on you and stuff, and people that work in radiology, they've had a history of a higher rate of cancer. So, it's I think it's more so that when you mess with a reptile, especially a snake that's more capable and likely to reabsorb if it's not happy or its needs aren't perfectly met, that it can potentially throw them off. So doing something like palpating a snake and then putting it back and leaving it alone, and it's got its comfortable little spot, and what makes it comfortable and what would be like messing with it a little bit too much, like, I think that can, add to the and skew the results for a study like that. You really, reptiles like to be alone when they're pregnant. They usually, bulk up for it and then go into hiding and don't eat a whole lot after that. And certain things like geckos have a lot of fat stores and in their tail, and like day geckos, they have like calcium sacs, so they store calcium so that when they just want to go and chill and lay eggs, they have plenty of that for it, and they can do it in peace and quiet and really don't want to be messed with. No reptile really especially likes to be messed with in general. Some are
Mhm.
just more tolerable of it, and we kind of train them and domesticate them to a certain extent. Bearded dragons and some iguanas and a variety of different lizards. Sometimes you could argue certain snakes really seem to like handling in short amounts and kind of crave it. You open a bearded dragon's cage that you've taken really good care of, and it's an especially personable one. And it'll just climb up on your shoulder, and you can go driving around, go to the grocery store, stuff like that. And but in general, most reptiles that you keep in cages, especially when they're pregnant, just want to be left alone. And that makes sure that everything has the best chance to succeed inside.
Good insight into that. And of course, there'd have to be scientific studies done with that. And I've never heard this brought up with people that use ultrasound a lot. So it's just something to think about, something that you go,
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, so we're going to get into our main point here, and that is moving on from a project or adding to a project or basically just refocusing your collection. And breeding ball pythons, um, things can add up fast, especially the babies and all the holdbacks and triple, double hits, everything. So at some point, I think every collector goes through refocusing a collection. Big breeders do it as well. But before we get on to that, let's talk a little bit about tips for noobs. These are the rules of thumbs I always hear for the noobs, for the new people. Work with what you like, start with females, pace yourself. And, I think the excitement of ball pythons, especially now with how affordable they are, you could end up with a lot of ball pythons very quickly.
Mhm.
Is there
Yeah.
anything here besides these that you hear about tips for new people getting in the hobby?
The best tips really, and you'll hear people say this with experience to people that are new, like do your research. So that's like the biggest thing you can do back in the day, before online presence and social media and Google searches. Like you would go to the library and look up everything that you could on something. And there's Vivarium magazine, Reptiles magazine, there's phone numbers and addresses, and you can like go to Herp Society meetings and symposiums and like shows and pick people's brains and learn as much as you can. The Nature Channel and different shows and the Croc Hunter and Jeff Corwin and all these guys like inspired a lot of interest and fascination, um, with reptiles. And I think the best thing that you can do is to research something. How big does it get? What's its humidity requirements? How are you going to keep track of that stuff? How are you going to heat it? Thermoregulation, thoughts, and that would be the biggest thing, because the more that you fast forward, your experience and your understanding of what a reptile needs in captivity, then the better that you're going to take care of, be able to take care of it, the longer lived it's going to be, the more rewarding of a whole process that it's going to be. That would be number one to me. And then also like equipment and housing and how you're going to set it up. And the more naturalistic that you can go and give it like extra hide places and design things in ways that make it more aesthetically appealing, kind of like a fish tank. You're setting up all these rocks and different plants and stuff. Like it looks nicer and it makes us feel better from a viewing sense. But it also, you do it right, it'll make the animal more comfortable. So that would be the number the number two thing to me. Those two things are key to being a good keeper and growing knowledge.
Great insight into that. Now, that kind of leads us here where you get to a point where you want to refocus your collection. and when is it time to step back and just make some changes to your collection? Now, I think one thing that everybody will go through is you fall in love with things and then you fall in love or out of love with them after a while.
Hmm.
And when I saw the Desert Ghost Clown initially, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the most amazing thing ever. And then, a few years later, I honestly, it's not impressing me seeing some of the combos coming out. I think the Desert Ghost kind of washes the colors out of some of those amazing clown combos. Still a beautiful snake, and I'm sitting on several double het females that will be ready to go this upcoming season. And do I really need to keep 4 or 5 double het clown girls? Should I let a few of those go? Or the prices on them are going down. Should I just buy a visual double male? So Ultramel Clown is another project that I'm deep in. And honestly, I would prefer to focus more on Ultramel Clown than the Desert Ghost Clown. So these are all just questions that I'm struggling with as the size of my collection grows, and just knowing that at some point I won't be able to keep up with things. So I need to start letting some of these go. And yeah, I know you're refocusing your collection. How's that going for you?
Yeah, it's going all right. I really need to take advantage of morph market auctions a little bit more and throw some stuff up there. Um, Took the geckos to the pet store the other day and swapped them out with some different stuff that we needed for the dogs, and just kind of, cut loss there, and one less mouth to feed, and they got some really nice geckos for very low cost for them. So I could have got cash, but it worked out better that I got stuff for the animals and got more than I would have been able to buy with that cash. So win-win for everybody. But yeah, I'm gonna move on from some snakes and probably sell a couple like PVC racks, and I've gotten rid of all the rodents, and we'll just buy locally and try a little bit more frozen thought as well here and there. And yeah, I'm still kind of assessing a little bit more. There's some snakes that I'll probably get rid of that I didn't plan on, but you want to try to keep things as manageable as possible. So I got real heavy into everything, and everything was taken really good care of, but now I'm not around all my snakes like every day. And you sometimes you go a little overboard and you just have to regroup. And that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm still working on that process. I got a couple trades that I need to complete still, and that'll that'll help with that process. And we'll just see what happens. And now, as we get closer to egg laying season, there'll be all sorts of other little hatchlings and things, and that just becomes a thing. It's like, Pokemon, collect them all, but like when you have mouths to feed, it starts to you know be a lot. And there's people that breed their own rodents, and there's people that just have seemingly unlimited resources in the sense of taking care of a large reptile collection. And some people need get way into it, and then they need to refocus, even just simply not because they lose interest, but in the sense that, lives refocus. Sometimes things change in your life, and you got to kind of cut back on everything, kind of like bills. Like, how many bills do you really want a month? You want to kind of keep everything kind of simple, so you can save a little bit, and so you're not as overwhelmed. And so yeah, I'm still going through that process.
Aaron brought up a really good point, and it's what I was thinking about too. And that is, we're so quickly going for these doubles and triples that we're not really enjoying the singles by themselves. Like Desert Ghost, I really love Desert Ghost. It's amazing. Um, not so much loving the DG Clown. And when you're working with these doubles and triples, the fact that you have to have so many to hit those is what can cause a collection to go awry. But why not focus more on the singles? And I think that's where I want to go. with my collection is to focus more on the single recessives and maybe work some supers into those. And
Well, and a
like,
lot of people also, Mark, like run all these new genes through clown. Let's see what clown does to it. Let's see. And and it is exciting. But despite all the amazing, clown combinations that you'll see in a Canova video, there's all sorts of other genes and other combos that have yet to be made and have nothing to do with clowns. And I think that maybe if you feel that Desert Ghost Clown just doesn't do it for you, maybe you could plug it into something totally different, and just pivot rather than so much have a garage sale. And that's another thing that people can do when other people feel similarly as you do to certain projects. Just change focus. That happens a lot with big name breeders and people that have written books and been at the forefront of herpiculture. They've all pivoted at different times. Been like, well, tried that for 9 years, didn't quite work out like I thought. Let me do something else, and they switch gears and selectively breeding just even one pattern, one gene, and you add one recessive to it. You can like selectively breed for something generation after generation and come up with something cool that isn't even like crazy combinations involved. It's just looks cool because of how somebody stuck with it. And there's that to consider too. And I'm still having fun with some of these crazy color palettes and crayons that we have in our ball python boxes. And I think it will be exciting to hatch pieds and monarchs and clowns. What the clock is ticking now. I'm probably about 56, 57, 58 days from now, I will most likely hatch my first clown. So that's pretty cool. It could be a spot nose clown. It could be a vanilla clown. It could be like a yellow belly clown. It's gonna be neat, and I will appreciate it. And yeah, refocusing is difficult. It's usually a little bit costly, and you sacrifice something. Maybe there's something you want more, and you just take dimes on the dollar, or some kind of loss in the sense that you didn't see a project through, so you never made money off of it. You never got to have the reward of seeing that, but that you want to do something different, and then that's sometimes what you have to do when you take care of so many animals. You have to pick and choose a little bit. Like I had a candy that was het pied, and she was a feisty little snake. She was really pretty, but I thought, oh, I'm gonna be the one that tames her down, and I just kind of got over it, as she was like my only mean snake that she became as such. And I could have calmed her down over time, but I was like, you know what? I got like, at one point I've had almost every type of albino, and it's just sometimes you got to focus a little bit better. And you'll hear people like Billy Rose saying things like, if you really want to do good, and make something really extra cool and give yourself more options, narrow down what you want to work with. Pick and choose a couple lanes and just go down those roads. Don't try to like work with everything, and that's how you'll make something really neat.
I think we're gonna end there. You always drop the mic towards the end here. I know you got some eggs to put away. Let us
I
know
do.
next week
I do.
how the veins look and everything else.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Jason, for
Yeah.
being here
Thanks
today.
everyone for tuning in. Sorry we weren't here last week. Mark needed a break. And you know what? Sometimes we all need a break, and it's okay to do that from time to time. I don't know what the algorithm thinks about that, but it doesn't really matter. Like, you just want to have fun with your collection, like Quest the Rebel was saying earlier, he's having fun. It doesn't matter like so much what he has or dollar signs. He's just enjoying the hobby. He's enjoying music, and I hope that everybody else is enjoying what they have. And if there's something they're not enjoying, then yeah, refocus, move it on to somebody who's going to appreciate it more. And sometimes you got to take a break and enjoy life too, because that's what we're here ultimately to enjoy. So we will see you guys all next Friday at 4 p.m.
See you guys. Thanks for joining us again, Quest. Thank you for being our guest. He just gave you some flowers, Jason.
Oh yeah, I love flowers. I love them. Like a
See you later,
florist.
everybody.